Think about the last time you stood in line at Starbucks. You probably weren't thinking about the global supply chain or the cost of commercial real estate. You were likely just looking at the menu, noticing that a grande latte now sits at $5.65, while a seasonal specialty can easily clear $7. You pay it anyway. You tap your phone, wait for the green check mark, and move to the pickup counter. But as you walk away with that paper cup, a small, nagging thought might cross your mind. You know that coffee beans are a commodity. You know that milk is relatively cheap. So why does a cup of liquid that costs roughly 40 cents to produce end up costing you 15 times that amount? It starts to feel less like a treat and more like a calculated extraction. Hi, I'm Arlo. I've spent years analyzing the systems that dictate how we spend our money and why we often feel powerless to stop. If you find this deep dive into the hidden mechanics of your daily life valuable, please like the video and subscribe to the channel. It helps me continue to produce these analytical breakdowns for you. Let's start with the most common defense of these prices, the third place theory. For decades, Starbucks has marketed itself as the bridge between your home and your office. It is a space where you are allowed to exist without the pressure of being productive or the isolation of being alone. But in 2026, that third place is shrinking. Have you noticed the chairs getting harder? Have you noticed the power outlets being covered up or removed entirely? The ambiance you are paying for is being systematically dismantled to favor high-turnover mobile orders. Yet the price of the coffee hasn't dropped to reflect this loss of service. In fact, it has done the opposite. To understand the finance of your latte, we have to look at where your money actually goes. When you hand over $6, you aren't paying for coffee. You are paying for a massive, complex infrastructure that has very little to do with the quality of the bean in your cup. Roughly 55% of Starbucks revenue goes directly into store operating expenses. This includes the labor of the baristas, but a massive portion is dedicated to rent. Starbucks doesn't just pick any corner. They use a main and main strategy, occupying the most expensive intersections in the world. They are essentially a real estate firm that happens to sell caffeine to pay the lease. Then there's the coffee itself. In the world of specialty coffee, there is a clear distinction between commodity coffee and specialty grade. Commodity coffee is traded on the C market, where prices are volatile and quality is secondary to volume. Specialty coffee, on the other hand, is graded on a 100-point scale. Anything above an 80 is considered specialty. Most independent local roasters are serving you coffee in the 84 to 87 range. Starbucks, despite the premium branding, often hovers right at the edge of that 80-point threshold. They buy in such massive volumes that they cannot prioritize high-scoring lots. They prioritize consistency. This creates a strange cognitive dissonance. We pay specialty coffee prices for what is effectively a highly branded commodity product. If you go to a local high-end shop, you might pay $6 for a pour-over of a single-origin Ethiopian bean. That roaster likely paid a 30% premium over market rates to ensure the farmer could survive. They used a labor-intensive roasting process to highlight delicate floral notes. When you pay that same $6 at Starbucks for a dark roast, you are paying for the convenience of the drive-thru and the consistency of the chemical profile, not the inherent value of the ingredient. We are participating in a system where the specialty label is used as a shield against price sensitivity. In 2024, Starbucks menu prices rose by roughly 39% compared to a decade prior. Over that same period, the actual cost of green coffee beans did not triple. It didn't even double. What did grow was the corporate overhead. In 2025, Starbucks reported operating expenses of over $34 billion. That is a staggering amount of money required just to keep the lights on and the apps running. Every time the app gets a new gamified feature or a new rewards tier, the cost is passed down to your morning macchiato. Think about this for a second. You're essentially subsidizing a tech company. The Starbucks app is one of the most successful fintech products in history.
At any given time, customers hold over $1.6 billion in unspent balances on their Starbucks cards. This is essentially an interest-free loan from you to the corporation. They use your money to expand, to invest, and to hedge against market shifts. Meanwhile, the specialty coffee they provide you is designed to be masked by syrups and foams. Why? Because high-quality coffee doesn't need a half-inch of vanilla sweet cream to be palatable. Now let's look at the Starbucks effect on your own neighborhood. We often view the arrival of a Starbucks as a sign that a neighborhood has arrived. Real estate data shows that homes near a Starbucks appreciate faster than the national average. This creates a feedback loop. Starbucks moves into an area where people have disposable income. Their presence raises the perceived value of the area. This, in turn, raises the rent for the Starbucks itself. To cover that rising rent, they raise the price of your coffee again. You are paying a premium to support the very gentrification that might eventually price you out of your own neighborhood.
The most unsettling part of this arrangement isn't the price itself, but the psychological tools used to make us accept it. We aren't just buying a beverage, we are buying a peak-end experience. Behavioral economics have found that humans don't remember the average of an experience, we remember the most intense moment and the very end. Starbucks has mastered this. They focus on the peak, the ritual of hearing your name or seeing the swirl of caramel, and the end, the convenience of the exit. By smoothing out the pain points like waiting to pay through their app, they make the high price feel invisible until you check your bank statement at the end of the month. Here's what's actually happening. We are being conditioned to believe that specialty is a synonym for expensive. In reality, the two are often divorced. True specialty coffee is about traceability and craftsmanship. It's about knowing that the coffee finance is sustainable for the producer. But at a massive scale, specialty becomes a marketing buzzword used to justify a high margin. When you see a limited-time offering for an $8 lavender oat milk latte, you aren't seeing a breakthrough in agricultural quality. You are seeing a decoy effect in action. By putting an $8 drink on the menu, the $6 latte suddenly feels like the reasonable choice. We are not even talking about the lifestyle tax yet. There is a specific social currency attached to the green siren logo. For many, holding that cup is a signal of belonging to a certain professional class. It is a quiet way of saying, I can afford the $2,000 a year it costs to maintain this habit. Starbucks knows this. They don't sell coffee, they sell an identity. But as the quality of the third place declines, as stores become pickup-only hubs with no seating, that identity is becoming hollowed out. You are paying for the ghost of a luxury experience while standing in what is essentially a fast food assembly line. Let's look at the numbers of the at-home alternative. If you invested in a high-quality burr grinder and a simple French press, your cost per cup of actual specialty-grade coffee would drop to about 90 cents. That is for beans that are objectively higher quality, fresher, and more ethically sourced than what you get at a drive-thru. If you do this daily, you save roughly $1,700 a year. For many, that is a mortgage payment or a significant contribution to a retirement fund. Yet the friction of making coffee at home, the 3 minutes of boiling water and the 1 minute of cleaning, is sold to us as a massive inconvenience. We are paying a $5 convenience fee for every single cup. By the way, have you ever wondered why Starbucks coffee often tastes burnt? This is a deliberate choice. To maintain consistency across 38,000 stores, they have to roast the beans dark enough to erase the individual characteristics of the crop. If they roasted lightly, a latte in Seattle would taste different from a latte in Miami because the beans come from different harvests. By roasting them to a dark, oily finish, they create a uniform flavor profile. It's the McDonald's approach to coffee. It's not about the best flavor, it's about the predictable flavor. But they still charge you the specialty price for a product that has been intentionally stripped of its unique value. This brings us to the loss aversion trap. Starbucks' loyalty program is designed to make you feel like you are losing money if you don't go. Double star days and bonus challenges trigger a fear of missing out on a free drink that you've already paid for 5 times over. You are nudged to spend an extra $6 today so you don't lose the progress toward a $5 reward. It is a brilliant, evidence-based system of manipulation. They have turned a simple morning routine into a high-stakes game of digital points, and the only way to play is to keep paying the premium. We are not even talking about the health implications of the specialty facade. Many of these premium drinks contain more sugar than a can of soda. By branding them as coffee, Starbucks bypasses the mental filter we usually have for dessert. You wouldn't eat a slice of cake at 8 a.m. every Tuesday, but you'll drink a Frappuccino because it's categorized as your morning caffeine fix. This is the ultimate specialty scam, selling a low-cost, high-sugar milkshake at a high-end coffee price by wrapping it in a paper sleeve and a green logo. So what is the practical takeaway? It isn't to never drink Starbucks again. It's to recognize the finance of the interaction for what it is. You are paying for real estate, a massive tech platform, and a global logistics network. You are paying for the convenience of not having to think. If that is worth $6 to you, then the transaction is fair. But don't let the specialty branding fool you into thinking you are getting a superior product. You are paying for an engine, not the oil. Think about this the next time you see that green sign. Are you paying for the coffee, or are you paying to keep the system running? Once you see the hard chairs, the burnt roast, and the bait pricing for what they are, the illusion starts to break. You realize that you aren't just a customer, you are a data point in a very expensive, very efficient machine. Awareness is your only protection against the convenience that is slowly draining your bank account. The most specialty thing you can do is reclaim your morning, your money, and your choice.